this is also how you interact with other people.
Especially when other things in your life are not running well, that can be very depressing. Because it's just more fun for them to talk in that language. Humor, jokes.
You have policemen or something, they're asking for bribes all the time.
But still, that doesn't mean that I don't have any...
Were you also taught in the school or something?
No. I can get so many bribes. For example, in Denmark, they have this culture of hygge.
What was it? People slip and fall and then they remember the house number and then they go to the police? How can people speak like that when there's a better way of saying things?
And it's just so shameful, it is so shameful. And I'm like, no, what's the problem? We got stopped by the police because apparently I started even talking to him. I was like, I'm German, I will call the embassy, this is absolutely ridiculous, this, that.
Hey guys, my name is Bharat.
My name is Alina.
And in this video we want to talk about the things you should keep in mind if you want to come to Germany. So the title of this video is going to be Don't Come to Germany If.
Let's start with the most important point of all, and that is if you don't want to learn German. I hear this excuse many times, especially from the IT sector. My job is anyways in English, why do I need German? And that is absolutely stupid, because you have to interact with people outside also in the office, and you have to file paperwork. Nothing is in English, everything will be in German. And it is after a certain time people expect you to know German, and it is very I personally find it very respectless if you don't know a single word of the language, or even a normal basic conversation. So I think that is very bad.
So not just that, I mean it has consequences on your work atmosphere. So when you're eating together with other people and stuff, then you generally see the people who have lower German proficiency, they do not engage. And of course it can depend from work environment to work environment. Sometimes they're just speaking in English, which is rare. It is not very common. In some startups and stuff, yes, this could be the scene, but most of the times you're speaking in German. So of course in those kind of scenarios you also need to have some kind of German proficiency so you can take part in these conversations. That's very important, because this is also how you interact with other people, and also a way you kind of rise up in the corporate hierarchy.
And also something I experienced personally. For example, I hang out with only Indians. They know how to speak English perfectly, but they will still keep on going back to their own language, because it's just more fun for them to talk in that language. They have their own humor, their own jokes, and same is with German. And so that's why I think learning German is an absolute must. And if you don't want to learn German, then you should maybe look for another country.
The next point is bureaucracy. Germany is a very bureaucratic country, so you will have a lot of paperwork for every single thing. But the benefit there is you will have the list in front of you. That means once those documents are done, you don't have to worry about anything else. Any kind of bribes, corruption or something is something that is not normal in Germany. I am kind of known to that culture in India, where you have policemen or something, they're asking for bribes all the time, and then you have some kind of work to be done in the court. There again you have to pay bribes to people. But at least in Germany I have not seen that, and this is not a norm in Germany at all.
And even, for example, when we were talking to Bharat's friend and they said they want to go into the police sector, they were like, I can get so many bribes. And it's just so shameful, it is so shameful. And also...
most people want to go to the government jobs because they can just take bribes and things like that. And it's a very common thing. Of course, some people can get defensive here and say no, that's not the norm, but many people do it. And you talk to your friends and stuff, when you are behind the doors, you're talking about these things, then the real discussions come out, and then you essentially know that, hey, that's the norm.
Yeah, and we experienced this firsthand. We got stopped by the police because apparently we stopped a little bit after the stopping sign.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to take us to the police station, and I started even talking to him. I was like, I'm German, I will call the embassy, this is absolutely ridiculous, this, that, and just give us a fine and we pay for it. And he was like, no, we will take you to the police station. And then in the end, what happened, he asked for a heavy bribe.
Yeah.
Coming back to the point of the bureaucracy in Germany, for example, if you go to Germany and you apply for your Aufenthaltskarte, it will take around 1 month. Many people find it a long period of time. I don't really find it a long period, because you get a Fiktionsbescheinigung. Yeah, you are covered, and in the end you will definitely get your document. So I don't find it such a bad point, but I have heard this from many people who come from abroad, that this is something which they find surprising.
Yeah,
So
but it's just like, yes, you have some longer working processing times or something, but at least you don't have the drama with bribes or corruption.
yeah, running after your documents, calling the authorities all the time, like it has an automatic system, but there are some like
Some
working
cases,
times, and maybe they work a little bit slower than they should.
Yeah, yeah. And like sometimes, of course, like you might have some kind of different experiences or something, but I think like corruption or bribes, at least, like that's absolutely not known in Germany.
The next point is weather, and that can be depressing for people, especially coming from warmer climates. I grew up in Germany, so I'm used to it, but still that doesn't mean that I don't have any winter depression, and winter depression is like a real thing. You wake up in the morning going to school, it's dark, you're coming back from school or whatever, it's again dark, and only during the day a few hours are light. That can really, especially when other things in your life are not running well, that can be very like depressing.
Were you also like taught in the school or something?
No.
In some time that, hey, like this is like when like the mood starts getting off or something, or they don't talk
No.
about it?
Like in Germany we have this thing that whenever the sun is shining, everybody's running out like crazy and like so happy, going to ice cafes and just hanging out outside in the park. You will see the parks full with people, and then mostly if it's like rainy or dark, then people stay inside the house. And one thing, like for example in Denmark, they have this culture of hygge, where they try to make your inside very like comfortable, and candles and this, that, like baking stuff together. So you feel good. In Germany we don't really have that hygge culture, which I find a little bit sad. So people are just like inside the house watching TV. You should be aware about the weather, but I still think Germany is fine, because I could, for example, never imagine to live in Canada. We had snow like this year for a few days, and I was already so fed up. And it's nice on the first day, you play around, it's amazing, but then when you have to go somewhere, you have to scrape your car and so many things you have to. In Germany, if you own a house, then you have to always scrape the
Footpath in front of the house.
It is necessary, because if somebody slips in front of your house, then it's your fault and you have to pay for all the things. So people always go out and do it.
But was it like people slip and fall and then they remember the house number and then they go to the police?
Yeah, then they call the police or something.
They call the police right there.
Yeah, everybody knows that like it's your responsibility. So that's why
This is so stupid.
they can take the claims.
Yeah. But yes, the weather is something that you have to get used to. There are different kind of, like for example, if you go up north, it's more rainy. If you go down south, like it will be colder, snowy, but like you also have some nice like summer days there. So I'm pretty much like more of a fan of south than north, but it depends like from people to people what kind of terrain they like, what kind of weather they like.
Yeah, I think it's just you have to get used to. And what I have noticed personally in the times in my life where I was not so happy with what I'm doing right now, like for example going to school, I was very, very depressed. But when I was happy in my life, then winter depression was not affecting me so much.
The next point is, if you're very attached to your family and you're not really willing to become independent, then coming to Germany is going to be a very painful experience for you, because you have to do most of the things on your own. You wouldn't have your parents nearby who are going to like just do things for you, clean your clothes, cook your food, or like kind of like support you like if something comes up or something like that. The only time you will have any kind of like contact with them is like when you're just calling with them. But otherwise, all of the things you will have to take care of yourself. The bills, the payments to some kind of companies, invoices, whatsoever, everything you have to do.
Yeah, sorting out some problems in your life, because your parents will or your family or whoever will most probably not know the system, how things are working, so they cannot really help you. So you have to figure everything out by yourself. But I think it's a really big learning experience and very important in your life, especially when you are above 20. It's more than time to get independent, and like I think it's rather a good point than a bad point. But I know some people are very attached and just like everything for them done, so maybe Germany is not the right place. To add something is about working culture, that like you cannot ask your boss or your co-workers for every single thing. They will expect you to find things out by yourself, and they would rather maybe get annoyed if you ask them 2-3 times the same thing, like how do I do this, and they will, after I think one time, they will already tell you, look, I have explained it to you, either write it down somewhere or you try to find it out yourself. So the next point will be, if you are super sensitive. Many people, when they first come to Germany, and it's not just Indians, it's many other countries, they get shocked, like they get the proper culture shock when they come to Germany, because Germans are very straightforward. They are also very reserved people. When you get any kind of feedback, it will be very direct, and it might hurt your feelings, even though it's not meant to hurt your feelings. But Germans just don't like to waste their time, and they don't like to sugarcoat things. So they will tell you exactly what they mean, so there are no misunderstandings, and they don't waste the time explaining it over and over again. So if you are a very, very sensitive person who gets offended quickly, then maybe like you will not warm up to German culture. Maybe you can just come for studies and then see other experiences, but maybe you get used to it.
The thing is, of course, people change all the time. Like from the moment you would actually like arrive to Germany till the moment you will leave, there will be constant changes that will be happening. For me, it was something I struggled with. Like I think the way like people would speak, or like it did not seem polite at all, and I was like, how can people speak like that when there's a better way of saying things? That was something I personally also like kind of like struggled with, but you generally get used to it, and then you understand, okay, like they just have a culture like this, and maybe you just have to like kind of live with that. You also like kind of develop a thick skin, so when somebody tells you things like that, you actually do not care at all. Then like you just know, okay, like that's where they're coming from.
Barrett and I had many discussions about this, fights. Also, like sometimes he used to tell me something, this and this happened today, this is so rude or this is so mean, and I'm like, no, what's the problem? That's not the problem at all. And like these kind of different mindsets, again, I do think that you can get used to it, and maybe you start appreciating it, because I definitely do.
The next point in Germany is expensive labor. In general, like if you're hiring people, then you are paying them higher wages, and that means if you feel like you can hire somebody for cleaning and stuff, you have to keep in mind that like sometimes they take as much as like 20 euros per hour. So it is going to be entirely up to you if you would be able to afford it or not, and how many times a week you can afford it. Because in India, you have the culture that the cleaning lady comes every single day and she cleans every single day, but in Germany it's rarely like that. Like you have once a week, twice a week or something like that.
No, most people don't have cleaning stuff at all.
Yeah, because like it just, if you count 20 euros per job, like per hour, and if it takes like 2 or 3 hours to clean your apartment, you essentially have 60 euros for one cleaning session, and then you multiply it 4 times, you have 240 euros that you're paying in just cleaning. So for some people it's just like very, very expensive, and they do not prefer to do that. This is like for most of the people essentially in Germany.
And also it's like very normal to do things yourself in the house. Like your toilet is broken, you first try to like do it yourself. You have to paint your walls, you will do it yourself. We have this like do it yourself culture, because it's just like very expensive to hire people for such jobs.
I think that's very important keyword, do it yourself culture. And like that's also the reason like when I have my online courses and stuff on Big Academy, that I also like kind of promote people and encourage people to say, try to do it yourself. You have the guidelines and everything where you have to look for resources, and the rest of the stuff you can like manage on your own. So this is like very important, because this is going to be something that is going to carry on in Germany too once you come.
So that is pretty much it for the video. I hope you liked it, and if you have any questions you can comment down below. I try to, like, Bharat doesn't have the time, but I try to see the comments and answer them. If you ask about your profile and such, like, you have a tool, right, for that?
Yes, I have a free profile evaluation tool now on my website. You can just directly go fill in your details, and we can send you an evaluation of your profile within 1 hour.
doesn't really make sense to ask this in the question, because sometimes also other people start responding and their answers sometimes are not like
Exactly.
100% correct and more misleading.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much for watching this video. Check out our website for more free resources, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.